What's going on? Cold?
Just so you know.
Back on.
Well, you know, like.
Well, no, it's a new month now. Why?
Okay, now how do we get, before you leave there, sir?
Natural gas.
Okay.
So I saw Northfield parked in the alley pumping.
Oh, yeah, good, all right, that's all, we gotta have him, others.
I guess I haven't noticed.
Yeah, but I told her what she was like.
It's just, I accidentally saw it out. I just run with it. That's what I got. And it's not.
Those balances are bad.
So you can bring it up.
On. Without getting power.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's contingent. And they were interested in that.
Yeah, but I know that, that's a for, you're over, the sheriff's office and that, they don't.
Is there coffee today or not?
Coffee? I don't even know the water. Well, okay, the one contingency was,
Also, it was contingent on getting all business.
yeah, so
That's still
that's.
that process along.
And we did.
The county lost that both a long time ago.
Thing doesn't,
It was working for the.
you don't need that, so we could use that 3 million.
We got in on a couple of them that were.
So is that the only contingency?
Well, the other
I
was,
think
that
we
was the
usually
sheriff's
listen.
office.
It was support us on something,
Well,
or maybe it
Only
was
paid.
let us be. over the wall.
yeah, but. That in our bill.
Do switch over to where they actually.
I don't think the feds would like that.
Just for the union.
Those.
Yeah.
Those.
And that's my recollection.
Were very, very favorable. Considered
Water or whatever that.
considered source. I would have thought we would have seen something already now. Typically, those energy conservation things are
I
very.
don't know how much money we have.
So we're just gonna ask for permission to approve it.
Something new it wasn't gonna happen.
When it's ready.
That was.
And then we'll add that. $3 million.
And. Switch it over to LED. But that ship sailed.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Sounds like they should have done it.
Yeah, in from like 12 to 16 would have been
I
the
wonder
time.
what I did with my glasses.
Now granted, the LED technology was.
Are you done? No, here they are.
We had a lot of problems.
Like, why can't I see?
But if a person does, out there in water world,
Went to put my glasses on, the lens fell out. So
we can't switch it over to plug and play and leave all the bells in place. And you know, leave bells by.
Yeah.
And that's where the lamps are expensive. Because
Early.
give you an idea, like a 3,500 Kelvin.
It's a little early.
32 watt, that's a 7 a lamp, and a ballast is about $10. A plug and play LED lamp. But then a ballast bypass lamp is $111. So that's
She had,
Diesel.
Yeah,
Remember,
and maybe.
Yeah.
they gave us a grant.
yeah,
Those-
to switch them all over to bells.
But that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I've been told, right? The proper way to do it. You could do it, but it wouldn't be
No,
as.
to do plug and play.
It's always talking, you see the back of the person.
They're one.
Nice. And then,
That's,
and
you're
then
wasting
you got
money.
Putting on.
As
you can't see.
well as you're not saving.
Yeah, you do it by Zoom?
You still have to maintain all those ballots.
Well, I'll do it by Zoom.
This is bad.
What's that?
The ballast is no bad like they do on traditional.
We're using a traditional ballot.
Oh,
Plug and play
geez.
LEDs. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make the decision, you wanna go bypass on everything, get rid of them and direct.
And you got the number to call in? Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Bye. So she's gonna call in and then click in for Zoom.
Maybe?
Yeah.
sure.
should do.
Some wider chairs.
Yeah, these chairs were made for humans about 50 years ago, and they're about 75.
Oh, 100 and something. Beautiful chairs. It's really hard to get out of.
But, you know, it's just like football players, you know, 50 years ago, they were smaller. 50 to 100 years ago, we were all smaller too.
Yeah. Something we could put in the formal living room.
And understand that.
Yeah.
I usually sit in Zoom and I can tell when Andy unzips his pad folio because you can
Right,
hear it like.
it picks it all up, yeah.
Start out working. I think she doesn't want to sign up with people. I'll be there.
Yeah.
That was an eye of
Well, you
showing
I want to.
what you were looking at there, Michelle.
John really wants to.
Just keep it busy and having kind of
Yeah.
normal thing right now.
Hard to get go without inviting him.
So I think Cindy is on now.
Yep, I'm on. Thank you.
All right, I'm the chair for this, right?
No,
No, you're.
David's the chair.
David is.
David, over.
Yeah.
She's right here. We'll talk about that. Ready to go?
Yeah, you're in charge.
Okay. With the
It's not like at home, you're
Public
in charge.
Safety and Infrastructure Committee will come to order. What we had today is to review the budget requests compared to the money we have. And I'm afraid they're not going to match up. But
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we have 22 capital improvement budget. I have scanned in the requests that we've and then the new requests that we received for the 2022 budget. Information Systems had requested in 2019 a network upgrade, and that was going to be paid over 4 years. 2022 will be the third year, so that's $47,500. The Sheriff's Department had requested mobile and portable radios, and that was to be paid over 4 years. Well, you'll be happy to know they have purchased all they need, so there is no third and fourth payment needed. So I have removed that off there. And then we have.
Wait, can I ask one question?
Yes.
That's in perpetuity, all your vehicles are now outfitted or?
That's correct. We have 92 radios that we got in-house now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then there were 4 requests that were approved in 2021, but haven't been paid for yet, and they haven't been received yet. One of them was carpet and paint for the second floor, and that's also a new request, and it's now increased to $50,000 instead of $40,000 that was included last year. Buildings and Grounds had received approval for carpet cleaners that haven't arrived yet, and they're coming soon and will be paid for in 2022, and that's $9,145. The parking ramp structural study of $35,000. We have not been billed for that yet. And then the pod access was also approved by Buildings and Grounds for $54,352. So that's going to have to come out of 2022 capital improvements. And then you'll see all the requests from all the departments. The highway at Watson Inkster Shed, and they put the cost at $125,000, and now the cost is $150,000. So just so you know, that cost has gone up, and so instead of $62,500, it would be $75,000 for 50% of that. And then we have the other items there. So if any department wants to speak on their request, they could do so at this time. You know, I think he is on the hall. I think he's on the phone. He was here.
I've got a quick question for you on the sheriff's radios. Is the whole 47.5 done now? I mean, or will be this year?
No, the two payments for the mobile radios,
Just that one.
they're off. Both of them are off. There's no payment. They no longer need anything for the radios.
And the third and fourth, the second
Third
and
and
third.
fourth.
Mobile and portable.
Yep, those are off. So the 47.5 is, yep, the third year payment on that network upgrade.
Good.
But the sheriff's department does have some other requests, and so I think they're here to see where that goes.
Here I am.
Well, hear from you.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'll jump in front of Nick because he's on my phone, but Sheriff Schneider couldn't be here today, so he sent me. And I'm here to talk about the training room at the water storage building and the lighting in the storage building. Those are our number one asks. We'd ask that those two things would be combined into 25,000 total, with the idea being to convert the lighting throughout that building into LEDs with bypass ballasts, and then the balance of that money used to frame up that training room. The other requests fall a little bit farther down the list, but we'll never say no if you're willing to consider those.
You're talking about the training room, lighting, range trailer modifications and tables. That's the rest of the ask that you got today?
That's correct. Yes, but the priority from the sheriff was the 20,000 for the training room and the 5,000 for the lighting. We recently had the lighting looked at by a local electrician. They, I think, quoted us about $13,000 to flip over all the lighting in that building to LEDs with ballast bypass, and then we would use the remainder of that 25,000 to frame up, at least get that training room started and going.
I just have a question. With the training room,
Mhm.
I've gone to trainings out there for highway department, stuff like that, and I guess I'm not understanding new tables and all that other stuff, but it seems like it's
Right, so you're talking about the 2,500 in for the new tables?
well, yeah, the new tables and your what else, the training room.
So the training room and the storage building, I think the vision is to have an actual padded style room that's more wide open, that isn't cluttered with tables, that we can use for use of force training and other types of training where we need a lot of room, and not that front training, that conference where we have our monthly
So that's not the one you're talking
no,
about.
no ma'am.
And so where's the one you're located that you're talking about?
I think the vision is between the shower, the bathrooms and that locker room where it is now, and Bill's little workshop where we have some surplus equipment, framing that up, shoring that whole area of the building up so we could potentially move forward with a more of a physical space where we could do use of force training and other types of training that you need a little bit clearer space where we're not bumping into tables or having a deputy fall through a table when we're doing use of force kind of stuff.
Otherwise you have to remove the tables from the
That's
screen,
correct.
just slide them off to the side and.
We've hosted 2 trainings where we have done that, slid them off to the side, and we're always right on the edge where we have, we put down mats and we're getting close to going through those tables or going through walls or anything like that. So the training room would be that separate room where it's basically a blank canvas where we can change it day to day into whatever kind of training space we need. That makes sense.
Now, if you put on here that you need a new bathroom, I would support that 100%.
Well, maybe we should have. I thought, was it a couple of years ago? I think we maybe asked for a new bathroom, and that
You got it painted.
we got it painted.
Got it painted. Well,
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue it. I think the bathrooms are in some dire need of being redesigned and remodeled.
And having heat would be nice.
We can with what we got, so. If you'd like to throw in some more money for a bathroom, I'm just not gonna say no, and I might make the sheriff happy.
Well, maybe we should be looking at that instead of range trailer modifications and new tables, because that's sort of but I agree with Commissioner Knopf. Maybe you need to go back to Sheriff Schneider and say, we should come with some request on the bathrooms and maybe put this other on the side, so.
So you're,
Just the third and fourth item you're talking about?
Yeah.
and I, honestly, when I spoke to him about the range trailer, he was just really wanting to get the water ops building in the right condition to move forward on projects out there.
Well, if the bathrooms are that bad, we maybe should take a look at those.
No, I don't understand range trailer. What is it?
So the range trailer was, last year we acquired an old training trailer from the military. We had it hauled in from Joint Base Lewis out in Washington. It's a semi-trailer, it's a 53-foot trailer that's got some training space in it and an armory space where we can clean weapons and stuff. When it did come from the military, it was pretty bare bones. So we had some visions of making that more into a training, having cleaning stations for guns in there, actually workspaces, benches, maybe put a decent heater in there. Right now, it's just got a small heater only, really only heats half or maybe even a quarter of that trailer. So that's what the range trailer modifications is speaking of. And maybe a couple windows, because it is an enclosed 53-foot trailer with no windows.
Can I interrupt just 1 second? Commissioner Peach, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Ford indicated he was having so much feedback that he was gonna come down here because he couldn't hear it. So I just wanted to make sure you could hear all right.
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, go ahead.
So I appreciate that, the tables. But yet I think, when we're looking, and depending on how we spend this money or whatever, but you do have the space, that nice big space where it just simply needs moving tables.
Like I said, that's been a problem. It's not quite enough when you move the tables. There isn't quite
That's a
enough
big
space.
room.
It is a big room, Commissioner. However, if we have 15 guys in that room all doing physical activity, and gals doing use of force training, which is like armbar takedowns, you're physically like throwing people and working on physical maneuvers, those tables really get, no matter how far we push back or push them away or move them out, we still never really have enough room.
This one says new tables for training facilities. So
Yeah.
back to what's wrong with the ones in there.
Well,
I don't recall that they were in bad shape.
So yes, we do have some tables in bad poor shape that people have sat on it and they bow and that. So that was the ask, was to replace some of those tables that are in damaged condition. We usually try to hide those, put them in the back or shove them off farther to the side. But,
It seems to me that the improvements to the range trailer are also fairly high priority. If you've got heat in more than half of the place.
yeah, I mean,
Configured for adequate handling of weapons. What does this do to our budget, Randy?
It's included.
What?
$20 is already included. It doesn't do anything for our budget.
No, but my point is,
Oh, to
how much did you say we have in capital improvements?
2 million.
2 million. We got asks for 1.2. If we paid all of
Right.
these.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if these are a big deal or if we should just go ahead.
I think it is because we're talking, what is the 1st of February today?
Yeah.
So our money's got to go to the end. And the guy back there in the green shirt keeps coming up with problems, and I think we'll see some more during the year. And we have to fix those. And we have to remember that all of our mechanical systems here and really across the street are
Yeah.
25, 30 years old, maybe or older. So we're going to have more problems than what's here. The other thing I want to caution on, well, there's 2 big items that are on there that I think we should think about, and maybe we'll have to decide later, but we talked about fixing the bathrooms, the stacks here in this building, which would be fairly costly. But at some point, that's gonna have to be done. There's a couple of them in not very good shape. And the other white elephant in the room is the parking ramp.
Yeah.
And we don't know, that could be a huge number. We might be lucky and it might be a $25,000 number, but I'll be real surprised about that. So, you know, it seems to me that we need to look at approving maybe $500,000 or $750,000 worth of projects. And then maybe look in June and we could maybe approve more of them as we see that. You know, it'd be nice if we could get them all. And I think that there's a possibility. Scares the heck out of me.
That's why I'm picking your brain, you know, I mean, I'm not questioning it, it sounds like I am, but I'm not. But trying to prioritize today what's a must-have and what's would be nice, you know, and so that's, I guess, where I was trying to go with that.
That's understandable.
And you said that the first two items are your priority, the other two are not quite as much.
That's correct. Andy really emphasized that the 20,000 and 5,000, and that would be combining those top two projects together. And actually, the lighting is more expensive.
Well, that kind of makes sense in what you're talking about, if you can look at things, Mr. Falk, later down the line. If we approve the top two, then you look at the second two here, along with any other things such as maybe switching out bathrooms for one of those choices. We can maybe get it all done this year, but at least we can get started.
Yeah, and some projects we haven't got to, but some projects like Mr. West Inkster Shed, we almost have to get moving on that now because he's gonna have to put that up during the summer, or else it's not gonna be of any value to it. So,
Well, and with that situation, we've got one a year to get caught up. Almost have to go with
well,
that.
I'm a little favorable towards Mr. West because we've got a couple of things from him in the past.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a rented, is that the one that's rented?
The one we would put money into?
Yeah.
No,
Okay. I
No, the
thought you
one
were
we would-
going to change out a couple of your sheds so that the one that were the Durkin deal. Remember that one?
yeah, oh yeah. The Inkster shed is, we own that,
Okay.
and our proposal is to insulate it and heat that and upgrade that one. And that is near the Durkin shed. So what we would do is stop renting Durkin shed and
Durkin
use the
shed and
Inkster shed.
use that, yeah.
Yes,
How many blades could you put into that, the Inkster Shed then too?
yes, correct.
Kind of shoved aside.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, I think we know what his priority is.
I just come up.
She's in charge, yeah.
Yes, the Inkster shed would be two pieces of equipment, a blade and a truck. Right now would be a blade and a truck. And a tractor.
Mr. Knopf knows about the Durkin Shed. I don't. What's the deal on that?
We had some concerns about former employee that we rent from him that lives there being in the shed.
Oh.
And potentially, and or operating back in the piece of equipment out and some liability issues there.
But if we fix the Inkster Shed, then we wouldn't need the Durkin Shed. Is that your theory?
Correct.
Seems like a winner then.
And how many sheds did we have altogether that, was it 5 or that needed to be replaced or something done? Because they don't have heat, they're dirt floors, a lot of times they don't have water. I mean, these are people's business or their offices when they're not in on the blade or in the snowball or on the grader. And, you know, they're in poor shape. And so we really do need to be looking at upgrading those and making them viable or usable or, you know, I mean, even when they're not heated, I suppose if you run a blade in there or a snow blower or a snow plow, you know, they get crusted with snow and ice and whatnot, and so you have to let them melt off during the night, and I suppose they do even in an unheated one.
Much.
No, they would not.
Okay.
Okay, so first question, how many do we have? We did Niagara last year.
Mhm.
Plan is to do, well, we were gonna do Gilby, but we flip-flop Gilby and Inkster. So we'll do Inkster hopefully this year. Gilby next year. Northwood the year after that, and Manville would be the last one.
So there's five.
There's five, and then the only one left, we still rent one shed in Holmes. We don't have a county-owned option anywhere near. It's either Thompson or Northwood, and this one's in between. I guess we don't have a plan for that one. But the other ones we own with, one shed a year. The melting off, they usually do not melt in the unheated shed, so what we do or have been doing is jockeying pieces around other sheds. So you're in Danville, you drive it around Forks and leave it there, and next day pick it up. And or if you're in Gilby, you drive to Emerado or shed.
It's just not good. I mean, if they have to work on their equipment,
Yeah.
they're doing it in unheated building.
Yeah, no, they need, this is a guy, I don't have any problem. This is good.
I think it's, I would strongly recommend that we.
I think it's one that we need to put on the list that has to be done or approve this.
Yeah.
Whatever. So,
The Inkster shed, I'm working on quotes right now, but I'm guessing inflation's gonna kick in a little bit, and we're gonna be looking maybe 150,000 for a project.
So we'd have to give you 75, or
If you would consider that.
I think it's fair. Does this one have, do they have a bathroom in it then?
It will. It does not now.
Most of them don't because they don't have one.
Right,
So they
right.
have to go to the cafe or the bar
Yeah,
or
so that's a good thing. I like that.
some windbreak.
Yeah, they should have the same facility. They should have the same facilities people here, do, so that's.
Thank you. Well, that's my request, yeah.
Okay.
All right. I guess we go to administration. Or is it, yeah, the little building grounds was approved earlier.
Mr. Ford's on his way down here.
Okay.
So if we wait a little bit, I think he'll.
Should we go to,
Mr. Chairman, I don't think this was approved of the Cobb courthouse exterior lighting LED upgrade for $20,000. That's a new,
which one?
Buildings and grounds.
Oh, that is mine.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, yeah.
I think everything. Yeah, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all the requests, those in essence are requests that have not been approved.
Right.
And the top, I don't know, 6 or
This is
7.
not you.
Yeah, we've approved those and we'll have to pay those already going.
So we can, if Mr. Ford's ready to go, we can start with administration, or we can go with Mr. Krzyzewski first. I'll take a minute to get.
No,
acclimated.
I can go, Commissioner Regan.
You're always ready to ask money, is that the deal?
Well, the AP upgrades, that was something we explored during the height of COVID, when we were at the height of remote working and we were doing a lot of Zoom meetings. I think we were able to mitigate some concerns in this room with the Zoom TV. It seems to work just fine. We do receive a lot of really bad feedback, as I was experiencing earlier. But the main concern is the larger conference room. Pretty antiquated equipment in there. The drop-down TV doesn't always work correctly, but there's no overhead sound system. So if you wanted to do large meetings or hybrid large meetings in that room, it's not set up to do so, kind of like we do in here. You need to replace the TV monitor, of course. You'd have to wire a new sound system in the large conference room. I was working with HV Sound and Light on that. You're looking at about $50,000 just for that room. We had included in the ARPA request budget, but it didn't make the final cut. It's really at this point commission's decision if they want to continue looking at redoing the big conference room to make that hybrid, the equipment in there to do hybrid meetings. or not. We've done a few department head meetings in there where we've dropped down the screen. Miss Thiel has brought her laptop in, and we've had to do a couple of interesting setups to get hybrid department head meetings. It's pretty cumbersome. It doesn't work very well. But it's probably honestly going to be more than 50 grand now to do it. This information is almost 2 years old from HB Sound and Light, or getting close to it. So it's probably going to be more than 50,000. So it's commission's decision on that. Unless it's always a commission decision, but I don't know how crucial it is to upgrade the equipment in this room now. And then I see there's painting and carpeting. That's always on the docket. It's just, is there funding for it, or do we have far more pressing needs in capital improvements?
Is that the memorial room over there?
Yes, ma'am.
That was listed at 45. You think it can be 50?
Yeah, it's going to be a minimum of 50. 45, those are about 16 months old.
Well, I'll jump in here, and I have a suggestion that maybe what we should do is get another bid on that, Mr. Ford, for the memorial, and put off the Pioneer one for the time being. But we could also put off the memorial one till the summer and find out, or later on at least, find out what the actual cost is gonna be on that one. We can live without that short term anyway.
It's also worth noting.
I'm sorry. Would it be prudent to do both the rooms at the same time? I mean, if you're in there doing that, is that going to be connected, somehow connected to this room as well? I mean.
That's a great question. This is technically one large room.
Yeah.
So you're correct. It might be, Mr. Falk, it's also worth noting the 45,000 is just sound. That didn't include television, AV, because they just never got it to me. It's only sound, keep that in mind. So if the commission wants me to, I'll keep working with HB to get full quotes, or at this time, maybe the commission thinks there's far more pressing projects. I was emailing with Jake Clevin this morning back and forth about the parking ramp assessment. And there's really no update on that at this point. He's still working it, but I have my concerns of what that's gonna come back and look like. So in the grand scheme of things,
Well, I think it'd be helpful to put these two off then until you. How about some of the other things on the administration list, the carpets? All of these are in process?
No, I think if Mr. Grishevsky, I asked him to come in case there are questions about that. There's commissioning, and those are always going to be on the list. That's a lot of the carpeting in here is pretty old, painting's pretty old, so they're always going to be on. It's just if they meet the cut or not. I don't know, Mr. Grishevsky, if you wanted to make any comments on any of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So optimally, well, thank you for the opportunity to speak, commissioners, and sharing it. Optimally, the next floor to be receiving, the first floor was done as far as paint and recarpet, and the foyer was tiled. Would be to move to second floor and finish the offices. 4 or 5 years ago, it was either 16 or 17, looking back on records, second floor hallways and commons were done, but we had significant water damage this winter from the third floor water fountain, which could affect our longevity. We look at that carpeting on that and that foyer, as well as the fact that third floor was soaked quite intensely, and that's 23-year-old carpeting that isn't being replaced. Shame on us for getting it dried out too quick. But as Mr. Ford said, we're looking at some very aged flooring in this building that's, if not past due for replacement. So it's going to be on the list, and unfortunately, every year you put it off, engineers will always tell you when's the most cost-effective time to do any project. It's right now, because they rarely see pricing go down on anything, especially on consumable goods and on textiles and things like that. As far as where we would go and how far we would go any given year, I would caution on trying to bite off too big of a chunk as one big project. One, because you create a project too big, then we're automatically going into something that would require third-party consultation if we reach a certain dollar amount, which we'd have to seek Ms. Wanstead's expertise on that, where our limits would be on that. And then two is when you start moving a building of this size, if you start biting off too big of a chunk for what we have available for crew, just moving furniture, moving people around, and spare space to move them around. If we bite too big of a chunk off, it's really gonna upset the apple cart within keeping county functions operating within the building. So I think we need to categorize that in a structured way over the next period of time, whether it be years or what have you, and if it's a floor at a time or what have you. I do hold the opinion, as I've mentioned before in the infrastructure meetings, I think we need to concentrate on getting an area done rather than hopscotching around. For instance, our busiest rooms in our buildings are, unfortunately, yes, they are bathrooms, and they're very dated and they're very worn. They also need to be updated. It's not just hallways and offices and painting walls. It's, there's a lot of this building that hasn't been touched other than preventative maintenance. Why it's for 23 years now. It's time we have to start doing some of that stuff in order for it not to fall into a deferred maintenance point that isn't affordable to get into. So we do need to keep that on the forefront in that respect. And as we put it off, some of these numbers are mirrors of numbers of a year or two ago. They also haven't been updated for a year, so are they hard and fast dollar amounts anymore? I can't honestly say that either.
When you do a bathroom remodel, what is that?
That's going to get, that's going to address some ADA compliance where Ms. Steele has to get involved on what we're going to have to do with sink and countertop heights. So it'll be sinks and countertops. It'll be probably be new, most likely we do enclosures as well as many of, especially on the men's side, the enclosures or the stalls. The stalls tend to get corroded on the bottom just because of moisture and being wet more often there in certain areas of the bathrooms. We'd be looking at tile and new faucets, which would be touch-free, and then replacing the existing flush hardware on all the toilets. Toilets would not have to be replaced, but flush hardware would all have to be replaced in those bathrooms. So tile, paint, their stall enclosures, and sinks and countertops.
I guess if I had to make a decision, to me it would be, let's take care of those bathrooms. First of all, we could have other water problems if something broke or whatever. But I also think that the ADA piece of it is huge and important. But that's just my thoughts. I mean, if there was a priority here for me, it would be, let's fix the bathrooms.
Chairman Egan? Yeah, and actually I'd like to see us do both those COB projects, the third floor paint carpet bathrooms, and then the first floor bathroom and the second floor carpet. If we don't stay on task here, we're gonna run into problems money down the road. And I see next year's budget, we're gonna have to reduce our capital improvements dramatically in order to cover the rest of the demands that we're gonna have. So my question is, and I think we have the money that we could take care of these in essence, two projects here. question is if we approve like the cop second floor paint and then the first floor bathroom now, and then we put off, but we could maybe find the money in July for you to do the other, would that work for you? Could you get both projects done?
If all the planets align perfectly, I think it's manageable.
Well, or you know, you could even start in October on the other, so long as the money's there and we could somehow get that, I mean.
Yeah. I don't have a crystal ball as far as staffing, as far as staff outages, whether it be for medical related illnesses or otherwise. I do have one resignation of one staff member that will be covering that custodial load within our maintenance department. You guys haven't seen that, but Ms. Steele and Ms. Bershheim have seen that one, so we'll be recruiting and hoping that we can fill that slot without. But if I'm fully staffed and our crisis mitigation is at a somewhat of a norm, I don't see it being a problem.
I'm assuming that we bid out most of this work.
We would get updated quotes on it.
Yeah. And so your staff hopefully would be significantly involved. I'd like to keep them out if we can.
The thing that we would be involved with would be move and relocation within the building. That, just that in itself is what our staff would be consumed with time on there.
Runs into a problem, then we maybe need to find some movers for a couple of days to help you or whatever.
Sure.
And I agree with Commissioner Knopf about the bathrooms, that one of the first floor is in tough shape, so.
Which that is in effect our busiest.
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
the building as well. So
Yeah.
Was the first floor remodel on CARES money though? It looks like on the form. First floor bathroom remodel. CARES Act funding first round.
I don't see that right here.
Reading from the sheet that Ms. Nelson gave me.
Oh, yeah, it's the third sheet in.
It's-
I didn't go in this far.
Capital project form. It was the third page down, maybe, I don't know what it is, but it's a planet part.
Mr. Chairman, that was, the department had that, turned that in. That was a possibility where the money could come from. It was not that it actually did come
Didn't
from
happen.
there.
So if we're gonna do the first floor bathroom, that's gotta be in this range of 50,000 that we did.
That was the bid that they received, the $50,000, but it could change since then.
yeah, and once again, with these numbers that were tabulated, much of that was not formal bid, was more budgetary from contractors because it wasn't guaranteed work that they were going to be looking at. So we were able to put together a budgetary package, not something that they were going to be held to. And then once again, we're already looking at a year later on what those numbers were. So can we hold those numbers hard and fast? We may see somewhat of an increase on some of those numbers.
So what is the recommendation either from the commission or from Mr. Krasinski as to what the top priorities are? Second floor carpet?
If-
And first floor bathroom?
If we were to pursue those in that way, it would make sense. As far as what's the highest priority, I would like to see first floor bathroom done first because first floor otherwise hasn't been done. As far as painting, flooring, tile, carpet, and whatnot. So, get back to where we started and finish that in that respect.
These things that you could get started, and then when we do come back to the capital projects list in a few months, come with the next thing, or
Yeah.
what are people's thoughts?
Yeah, I think we need to move on those two projects as quickly as possible. The other thing is, you're more likely to probably get a better bid here in the winter time where it's indoor project for you, then late, the next project will be, we're gonna be competing with a lot of other construction projects.
Yeah.
So we might have a shot on these two, and actually to get somebody into work, it's gonna be a problem too, so I say let's get at it.
So is all the CARES Act funding gone?
No.
So this could
I
kind of,
don't know why you would want to talk about the CARES Act. We have $1.6 million in CARES, and I'll talk about that at the commission meeting, but right now we're just doing capital improvement dollars, and we have $2 million to spend. So I guess that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this chart, the first thing you go after is the first floor bathroom remodel and the second floor carpet paint. Those are the two top things that are listed there. And then we'll come back and look at the others in order. Is that your request?
Yep.
Okay. So Commissioner Knopf was talking about all the bathrooms. What's the next step in bathrooms? Try to get 2 of them next time, or?
Bathrooms floor by floor, you're pushing that, you're gonna be honestly pushing $50,000 on men's and women's bathrooms. So how much can you do, how much do you wanna do before we're forced into a third-party consultation and formal bidding with engineering and everything like that, as far as that project, or those projects of that size? Where can we go? What can we do that way in those size categories as far as price constraints? Because these are things that wouldn't necessarily require engineering or that third-party consultation, which also adds to the cost of the project. How much can we do is kind of where we hit a ceiling at on that. And that's also how many bathrooms do we want to be down in the building at the same time? Because if you took 2 or 3 floors simultaneously, that would have a pretty negative impact on the building as far as how busy the bathrooms become and how usable the rest of them are and stuff. So I caution getting too carried away with getting too much at any one time, just to keep the building usable, for everybody else in the facility.
I think that makes sense to me. And the elephant in the room is the gigantic building over there and the gigantic building here we don't even know what's gonna happen next. So unless you got a crystal ball to say that your stuff's gonna last for the next couple of years, we better save a little, huh?
I won't write you any guarantees.
Any other comments, Commissioner Beach and Commissioner Knopf, Mr. Ross?
so we're
Looks like
looking at first floor bathroom only,
First floor bathrooms,
first thing, and then
second
we'll
floor
get back to the,
second floor paint and carpet.
carpet.
and then the next round, we will pick another combination like that if we can.
Cool.
All right.
All right, thank you.
I have one question. Is that third floor bathroom, is that worse than the second? Obviously, that's got it in your.
The third floor bathroom, I'm assuming you're asking because of the water damage that initiated on third floor. The third floor bathrooms actually didn't suffer too badly in there because the floor drains in the bathrooms actually did their job and drained much of the water. The disadvantage we have with 3/8 tile on the floor is we had 3/8 of an inch of water out at the commons before it went into the bathrooms and started draining down. So third floor is probably our quietest floor, if you will, for traffic. So that outside of sixth floor, so the bathrooms on third floor are not in near the usage condition that first, second, fourth, and fifth are. Those are our lowest condition bathrooms in the building.
So why do you want to remodel third before the others? That's my question. Is that just because third was going to be painted and just take care of the whole floor?
Third, as far as on the list there,
Yeah.
that would have been if we would have had everything else done and from the other first and second, if they would have been done as that list was being put together, as Mr. Ford and I built the list, it was as second floor would have been done had COVID not hit and all of that stuff. So things might not have gotten extrapolated into the list quite properly just as the information was put together, but second floor would have been done had COVID not hit, and we would have been in the process already. We would have been looking at third floor already.
I think part of the confusion is on the report submitted by Tom that said third floor bathroom first, 2022, and the third floor bathroom, or the third floor in 2022, and the second in 2023. So a year later, third first, and then second.
I don't want to speak for Mr. Ford, but there's always a possibility of just inserting the wrong date and the wrong line as well. But third floor is better shape than second.
I'm just gonna throw this out, you know, that we get the bids on that second floor paint and carpet and the first floor bathroom like we talked. But get a bid for that second floor bathroom, as long as you got second floor ripped up.
Okay.
Let's look at completing second floor also, then we've got 2 floors pretty much all new.
We can always stop and pick up later again,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
But as long as we got a disaster on second floor, let's complete it. And see what I think we'll have to. Unless one of you guys, that's really different, but it just seems like a plan.
Yeah. I'll get these numbers put together then.
You wanted to talk about the exterior lighting LED upgrade?
Yep.
Of that. From the first big one. That was 20,000, yeah, you got $20,000 LED upgrade. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, that would be for the exterior lighting existing on the building as the perimeter of the top, the perimeter of the courthouse. The courthouse parking lot lights. That does not include the parking grant. That's a few years down the line on my dream sheet of money requested the parking grant. But so exterior around the Cobb, I had to absorb a fair amount of those lights last year in maintenance because we weren't able to buy the hardware to replace the old HID system. So about 50% of the Cobb we've already converted over to LED in-house just with the authority and my labor on the outdoor lamp posts, just out of necessity, keeping them going. But the rest of the courthouse lamp posts, the wall packs around the courthouse and the parking lot lights in the courthouse, to convert those to LEDs because the high pressure sodium HID lights are becoming very cost prohibitive to maintain. We're dealing with transformers at $75, $80 a piece in a light that the industry is trying to phase out. Yeah, we can convert those lights either internal housings only to maintain the aesthetic for the courthouse, or replace the entire fixture, sometimes for $400 to $500 of a fixture installed, and then you are LED. Then you're also benefiting from the cost savings from operating that light, because going from HID high pressure sodium to LED, you're probably running on about 40% of the electricity for every hour that it's burning. It's a nominal amount when you figure your electric meter spinning, but it is a cost saving. So it's a pay me now and pay me later is what it is. You use the old technology and keep it going. You're going to spend it right now, or your payback comes back later over time with with making LED conversions. Just for reference sake, I did a spreadsheet, I don't have it in front of me, on the parking ramp for, I think, for 2024, 2025, to convert the ramp over to LED as opposed to all fluorescent and HID, which is out there right now. And we spend what we spend on electricity in there, we would save about 40% off of the electricity bill, and it'd be about $13,000 to $14,000 a year in electricity we would save in the parking ramp alone if we were to make the switch. So you pay for the conversion now, you get the cost savings back. Unfortunately, we missed the boat for the rebate programs that were available in that 2014 to about 2015. And with the political element where it's at, I thought we'd start seeing them come in, because energy is usually very, very hot topic with politics where they're at right now. But we haven't seen those rebate programs come back in from power companies and stuff as of yet. Their big focus right now is infrastructure, roads and bridges, and that's where they're putting money currently instead of it in energy. But you spend the old technology, you're paying it for it now, as well as later. You update to new technology. Cost savings comes as you spend the money now, and you save money later.
Comments or questions? Mr. Krzyzewski?
I don't have a problem with it for that amount of money, I'd say.
Makes sense.
Let's get it done.
Are you talking the LED project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The common courthouse.
Everybody concur on that one for now? That's 20,000. That is for the temporary approval of your projects, with the idea that we'll look at some of the other floors.
Hopefully later in the summer.
Okay.
I'll get started on this and get some final numbers and get them put together so you guys can get the stamp of approval. All right, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about the correctional center? Or will administration have anything else? Sir. The improvements next door in the office, are those, we approved those earlier, correct?
Yeah, right. I was hoping they start installing this week, but I haven't heard back.
So it looks like Brett's up on the screen here. So what?
I say Brett's on the screen if you
Okay.
have questions.
Correctional center's next. Go ahead, Brett.
Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes.
Thank you for your time. Hopefully I can make this a little easier for you in your decision and how you do this. Of the 4 items in the correction center that are listed here, the one that I would ask that you consider today only is the intercom replacement. That is derived from a quote that is nearly a year old, so it might be a little larger than $210,000 now, but we are at the end of our life on our existing intercom system. And that is probably the most pressing. The body scanner, I would like to have a wait and see type of approach on that, just because if by chance there's an expansion of or remodel of this building, the location of that would potentially change. And I wouldn't want to install it in one spot, spend a bunch of money to do such, only to move it in the near future. And for the UV disinfectant, that comes from a request back in December 2020 when we were deep in COVID. And I'd like to still stay with a wait and see on that one, just to see what happens with the variants and so forth, whether or not we want to go that route. And then on the replacement of the transport vehicle, due to COVID, the number of transports that we've had is substantially gone down. And as such, I think we can get another year out of what we have, and I don't think we have to even look at that this year.
Questions for Mr. Burkholder?
My only question would be, or comment would be, and this goes back over the past 3 years, is we've tried to keep vehicles out of capital improvements. And I'm wondering if maybe you shouldn't put that vehicle in your budget request. Throwing that out there.
If that is the wishes of the commission, I would gladly do that.
Yeah, I think vehicles should be part of budget, not capital improvements. Capital improvements, I kind of look at brick and mortar, but.
Well, that's true.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Any questions on the intercom replacement issue?
No, that's a project we could add this time.
Yeah.
Which one?
The intercom.
We do it, seems like high priority.
Yeah.
Mr. Pete, Commissioner Knopf?
The only question I have on that is if by chance we do, but it'll be years down the road, I suppose, before we would ever add on. So,
Pretty hard to wait that long, you mean?
yeah, on one hand, it's hard to wait that long, but then on the other hand, because it's all one,
Tie into it.
they can tie into it.
Yeah, I don't think he can wait that long. It
No.
might be, even if things go great for us, it's gonna be 3 years or more before they're in another correctional or have more units out there, so.
And I have no problem.
Say, Brett, on that intercom system, could that, if new construction starts out there, would they be able to tie into your intercom system that you would be putting in?
Excellent question. Absolutely, it would be a scalable system. So any new construction that would require additional intercoms would just, we'd need more equipment for it, but it would all link together, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That makes sense. All right, Commissioner Peach, any thoughts?
No, I have nothing. I'm following along and I've agreed with most of the comments that the other commissioners have made. Thank you.
All right, so 3 of those we put off, but the intercom replacement at an estimated 210,000 will go into capital improvement. Then are we done to the last item, veterans? I talked to Lou in the hallway and he was saying it's not really high priority for in a tough situation or whatever. Anybody else have the information from him?
I don't, my organizations use that and we haven't done meals or anything like that. And, when we do have the meetings, a lot of times what we're doing now is having them catered in. And it's working just fine rather than going through.
I think we can pass.
We don't have, I don't know when the last time anybody used that room for. And I don't think it's because the equipment doesn't work, it does. Like your oven ones and things like that. So I mean, I don't think that would be at this point.
No, and that's what he said. Just let it pass for now. We'll see what funds are available at a later time.
Well, I've been kind of scribbling along on my page here, maybe some of you were also, but I added up the projects we're looking at taking care of as quickly as possible. And including one extra bathroom, there's 2 bathrooms and 1 carpet or 1 floor carpet there in the second floor. But I get about $640,000, which is something that's a reasonable amount that we were talking about before this meeting really got going.
Yeah.
And, I think we could figure we might have an extra 60 to 100,000 when these bids come in on all this. It might be up a little bit. That would still put us, 750 or right around there.
Yeah.
And that
I
would
think
leave
that's
us,
prudent.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would leave us $1,250,000 to take care of some of this other stuff. And we wouldn't worry about the the parking ramp and then any other maintenance issues come up here the rest of this year. But, in the end, I think it's likely we might be able to do most, if not all of it, if we need a break.
Everybody here.
If you kept track.
I did.
Okay,
I have 656,000 approximately.
I'll go with your number.
And that goes to 186 from, that was approved in
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
So if you want, if someone on this committee wants to make a motion to what projects, and I don't think you need to approve the 2021 projects because you already did that. So it's just the new additional projects and then forward that to the full form.
I can make a motion, Chairman Egan.
Go ahead.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the following projects to begin as quickly as possible, and most of them will probably have to get bids again, but the Inkster shed, the second floor cob paint and carpet, and while we're there, the second floor bathroom remodel, the cob first floor bathroom remodel, the exterior lighting upgrade, the LED upgrade for 210,000. Or 20,000, excuse me.
20,000.
I'll take it.
210,000 for the intercom replacement at the correctional center. The training room, $20,000 for the sheriff, and the lighting for that building also at $5,000.
Commissioner Engen, I would agree. I would second that motion.
Thank you. And yeah, that's all that we agreed on, I believe, so far.
Yeah, and I'll once again reiterate what Commissioner Knopf said, is maybe we could get a look at what those bathrooms are, the problem out there, and if we have some money, we could fix that for you.
The sheriff's area, yeah.
Yeah, really.
This is an older group, we're in the bathrooms.
We know
It's rough. I was out there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, yeah, sorry, failing and I do it here, all right. Any, the motion has been made and seconded, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Carried. Any other business for this committee today? We finished.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We spent a lot of time, so.
Yeah, we spent a lot of it.
So it's good, it's well spent.
All in favor of the motion to adjourn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you. Talk to you at 4.
We should just talk about it at 4 o'clock.